Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 331 for the 20th of January 2023. For the Ukraine war, all the special military operation in Ukraine. Just before I start, I just need to tell you that it's Chinese New Year Eve or Lunar New Year Eve today. So tomorrow and the day after it's nearly impossible for me to do any Ukraine war sit reps. Hopefully, the day after, maybe I can do it at night. So maybe, but maybe I will not be able to do so. So this will be the sit rep, and then I will see you, maybe in 2 days or 3 days time. So let's start off with okay, don't cry, okay, don't cry, okay. I understand, I know. Relax, don't cry, it's okay. Let's start off with Germany saying that they will not supply tanks. They say that they do not have the common position with other countries to support Ukraine about the supply of tanks. Basically the German defense ministry seems to be not willing to supply tanks if the United States is not willing to do the same. So the whole tank thing is kind of out of the window at this moment. Moving on to the southern front, we have Ukrainian helicopter, a Mi-8, shot down over Posad-Porovsky. We haven't heard of this location name since the fall of the Russian Kherson in the north of the Dnieper River. And a bit sad that someone cannot fly in this place despite they have already captured this entire area. That's all from the southern front, or rather the Kherson or Kherson Mykolaiv front. Moving on to the Zaporizhia line, and this Zaporizhia line is now developing into a Zaporizhia front because the Russians have launched their super duper uber Zaporizhia winter offensive, and it seems to have caught the Ukrainians by surprise. We are the first to announce this yesterday in the yesterday's sit rep, that we mentioned that this is the Zaporizhia offensive, and the sustained attack over the past 24 hours suggests that this is indeed an offensive and not just a diversionary action. The Russian forces have captured Lobkove. Lobkove, previously we have mapped it under the Russian control, but in reality it's just a no man's land. No one is really in control of it until the Russians pushed and they actually captured and secured this town. And the Russian forces also captured multiple other locations, but we'll go through one by one. After capturing of the Lobkove, they move forward to Stepov, and they are now fighting at Stepov. They kind of ignored Kayamsky. At Kayamsky, at this bridge here, this is where this bridge is the famous bridge where all the POW exchange is being done. So tentatively, they are still keeping this area, maybe just for POW exchange, perhaps. The Russian forces also have captured Mali Shebaki, and there is also rumors that Shebaki itself has been captured as well on the east of Mali Shebaki. Fighting was previously reported at Shebaki region, and then the rumors of the capture is reported by Intel Slava. I'm not sure where they got this information, but within the settlements of the captured by the Russian forces, they listed Shebaki within it, but I did not see this information in my primary sources. So we shall continue to wait and see whether we can have a confirmation about Shebaki. And moving on over to the Orikhiv region here, the Russian forces were attacking Novoandreevka, and by the end of the day, they have captured Novoandreevka. And similarly for Novodanilevka, as well as at Mala Tomashka. And with the capture of these three settlements means that the Russian forces is now at the doorstep of Orikhiv, a major supply hub, or a transport hub in this region here. And below here, there's fighting reported here. The Ukrainian forces are able to hold the Russian forces in this position, unlike all the other positions where they actually fell to the Russian side. Fighting is also reported near Novoporovska. So tentatively, it seems like everything else from the west of Bilohirya is kind of collapsing. And I want to just to talk a little bit, which I actually already talk a bit more during the analysis video of the Zaporizhia offensive. You might actually want to watch it after this. as you can see, there is a major resupply route. No, there's the major highway coming from Zaporizhia leading all the way to the eastern front. And the other line is actually from Dnipro all the way up through Petropolivka towards Pokrovsk. So the importance of the Zaporizhia line is actually to protect this line, to protect this highway, and if this highway falls, then Zaporizhia will be rendered useless. So and these four settlements, Kayamsky, Orkhev, Hoyapole, and Velika Novoselka, is the link to the highway. So if this falls, then the Russians may bleed across up north and cut away the supply line. So that's the main concern. So that's all for this part of the western part of the Zaporizhia line. Or the eastern part, there is also fighting reported around Melenivka. So the Russian forces have captured the high ground. It's not very clear. The high ground is not very high, but around this high ground in the south of Melenivka, the Russian forces have captured the high ground here. And they are probably going to continue to fight towards Melenivka and capture this position. I suspect this looks a bit more like a diversionary attack because the main offensive seems to be here, but there seems to be an attack here. So we're not sure how to read this at this moment, except this is the only way to read this. Whether this will develop into a much bigger offensive remains to be seen. The forces fighting here is not so clear. I'm not sure who are the forces fighting here. It does seem to be the regular Russian armed forces. But how Riba or Ryba have so much information, I'm not so sure how. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry did not acknowledge the offensive in the Zaporizhia region in their morning report, but in the yesterday's evening report, their 6 p.m. report, they did mention Russian offensive action at the Zaporizhia region. However, in the morning 6 a.m. report, they did not mention anything about the Zaporizhia offensive. So very interesting omission of information by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. That's all from the Zaporizhia line. Over at the Donetsk front, we have no much action along the Voleda line, except that there is some shelling reported south of Yelizavetivka, which is here. So the Russian forces, recon forces, probably drones, discovered Ukrainian forces along this forest line, and they decided to bombard artillery fires at it. Over at Marinka itself, the Ryba reported positional fighting in the western part of Marinka. However, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry say that it's actually the Russians attacking. So that's all from Marinka. We don't have any information around Krasnohorivka nor Nevelsky. Around the Pisky region, we only have fighting reported at Vodian. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, everything just went quiet, tentatively. And that's all from the Pisky region in the north and northwestern part of Donetsk city. And moving on to the New York region, we also do not have any fighting reported around here. So no, it's around here. So moving on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry again made a very weird statement about fighting near Preteshine. Fighting Preteshine is actually pretty far away from the front line, which suggests that the front line might actually be a lot nearer than the pro-Russian source reporting. And there's also previously on the 18th reported fighting near Alexandro Shutine, which is here. Which this combined with the Preteshine might suggest that the Russian forces might actually have captured this entire area here, or at least they are operating within this entire area here. If not, then it's a bit hard to explain how there is fighting reported near Alexandro Shutine or at Preteshine. So so this front line is likely to have some major changes in the coming days. I think I saw a message from one of the viewers showing the mapping by the live UA map. Live UA map actually maps it more or less what I mentioned. So I believe that might be accurate. So tentatively, I'm trying to be a bit more conservative. I'm not going to just push forward. But live UA map is actually a pro-Ukrainian mapping. So that might actually be very true, that the Russians are actually making a huge advance north of Bilahora. So Bilahora is here. So that's all for this part. Fighting is reported around this. The front line is now pushed towards the west of Klishchiivka along this forest region. Mapping is by Surya Maps. And Klishchiivka itself, clearing operations is reportedly has completed. The front line seems to be not anywhere close to the village already. The Ukrainian forces seems to have made a major withdrawal because suddenly we do not hear the reports of fighting around the village. So maybe there's a general withdrawal, probably towards Ivanivsky. And so about Ivanivsky, the importance of Ivanivsky is actually that it's actually controlling this highway. So I suggest you go and watch the other analysis report on the Bakhmut front, or the Battle of Bakhmut, which is posted just before this sit rep as well. Do check it out. It's another of the arrow maps. So on Bakhmut itself, we continue to see fighting reported on the southern part of Bakhmut, according to Ryba, and we also have reporting of fighting around the area of the meat processing plant, which means that the meat processing plant is actually here. So it means the Russian forces have not been able to push out. The Ukrainians are managing to do well to keep the Russians at bay. On the northern part, we can't really say much of the same. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that fighting is now near Yakhidne. And Yakhidne is one of those very important positions where if it falls, then the only last settlement to look out for is actually Ivanivsky. If Ivanivsky is contested, then the Ukrainians will have run out of retreat routes. As you can see, the roads, Yakhidne is actually holding this important road to escape towards Kramatorsk or Sloviansk. And if fighting is now around Yakhidne, that means this road will not be usable. And then the other road left is actually Kramove or Ivanivsky. And Ivanivsky is very close to the front line now. It's around 2 kilometers away from the front line, from my estimate 2 to 3 kilometers. And if the fighting reach here or fire control is being exerted around the highway, then the only road left, or only more or less major road left, is actually through Kromove. So then the Ukrainians will have to make this major decision about withdrawal from Bakhmut, or they will risk encirclement and have the entire army that is now defending Bakhmut to be entirely destroyed or captured. So it's a very serious position. The Ukrainian forces do fortify Chasiv Yar as the next defense line, or the next Stalingrad. So it only makes sense for the Ukrainian forces to actually do a major withdrawal to Chasiv Yar, or they will risk too much, which they needed the forces for their offensive or counter-offensive coming spring. Moving on to the north of Bakhmut city, we have fighting continued to be reported at Krasna Hora as well as at Blahodadny. Blahodadny one is reported by Deep State UA. Krasna Hora one is reported by Ryba. Deep State UA is actually a pro-Ukrainian source, and Ryba is the pro-Russian one. In the Soledar region, we continue to hear nothing of Soledar anymore, so we can actually more or less confirm that Soledar is now fully captured. Fighting is reported towards Vasyukivka again. This is first reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and around 2-3 days ago, and now we are seeing this report again by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And the importance of Vasyukivka is that it is a major supply route towards the Sivers front from the southern part. The fall of Vasyukivka would mean that there's only the northern resupply route that can resupply the Sivers front. So this is why this is important. Fighting also reported at Krasnopolivka, Razdolivka, Vesely, and Bilohorivka. So the entire the Russians, or perhaps the Wagner private military contractors, are doing a major push on the southern part of the entire Sivas front. There is also fighting reported at Sperne, according to Deep State UA, and this is probably part of this entire front, which we are not hearing much about the forces around between Vimka and Berestove. There is probably some fighting around here that is not being reported. We do not have any other report around the Sivas front. Moving on to the Crimea front, we have bombardments within the Serebryansk forestry, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, where they detected the Ukrainian forces within this region. The 92nd and 66th Mechanized Brigade. No, sorry, it's the 95th Airborne Assault Brigade within the forestry. Yeah, sorry, called the wrong troops. And in the northern part of the Crimea front, there is Russian offensive reported at Chervenopopivka and Proschanka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And the Russians also reported bombardment at Makiivka. And that's all from the Crimea front. And over at the Svetove front, we have Ukrainian Mi-8, a Mi-8 shot down over Lozova. And there is also bombardments reported at Stemakivka. For the situation at the Novoselivsky and Kuzemivka, the Russian forces continue to shell Ukrainian gathering of forces around Novoselivsky, as the Ukrainian forces is trying to gather up a major force so that they can actually take on Kuzemivka. However, the Russians do a counteroffensive, it seems, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and the Ukrainian offensive seems to not develop just yet. At Berestove, we have a shelling report according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and moving into the Kupiansk front itself, we have shelling at Taibaivka as well as at Timkovka. So in Timkovka, you will not be able to find on Google Maps. It's actually around here. This is based on previous geolocation of where it is through other mapping sources. So that's all from the Kupiansk front. And that's all from the summary for the day of 331 for the 20th of January. And happy Chinese New Year to you guys. Wish you guys healthy and safety, lucky and prosperity, and of course do press the like button, because I wish you well, right? So you can thank me by pressing the like button. Subscribe if you are not subscribed, and share this with your friend and family if they are interested in the war, to try to understand what is the reality on the ground, what is actually happening, than rather reading propaganda. Anyway, thank you for watching. Happy New Year to you guys, and I'll see you in the next update.